Let's discuss the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is a formula that can be used to find the solutions to an equation that has the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is known as a quadratic equation, an equation in which the highest power on a variable is a 2. The quadratic formula tells us that the solutions to this equation, and there are two of them, x equals the opposite of b, the coefficient on x, plus or minus the square root of b squared, minus 4 times a times c, where a is the coefficient on the x squared and c is the constant, all over 2a. All quadratic equations have two solutions, and they are always given by the equation, the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared, minus 4ac, all over 2a. It should be stated that the quadratic equation only holds when a does not equal 0, but then if a is 0, we actually wouldn't be working with a quadratic equation because a value of 0 for a would mean that there is not an x squared term, and the highest power on x would only be 1. It is worth discussing that in the quadratic formula, an important term in the numerator is the term that is the radical term. And under that radical, b squared minus 4ac, it's called the discriminant. And it has a lot to do with what the solutions to the quadratic equation will be. When the discriminant is 0, the equation has a rational double root, only a single rational double root. If the discriminant is a perfect square, such as 1 or 4 or 9 or 16, in that case, the quadratic equation would have two rational roots. This also would mean that the quadratic equation is factorable. And finally, if the discriminant is negative, if there's a negative value under that square root, you would be taking the square root of a negative number in the solutions to the quadratic equation, in which case the equation would have no real solutions, but they could be represented with imaginary numbers.